that was a lot of fun. I'm going to be adding a few upgrades to this gun, but I can say with full confidence that my Arsenal 9 will be back.
5 years ago, I said this AK would be back. So here we are, and a lot has changed in that amount of time. For example, we got kicked out of this chert pit. So we built this range so that we could keep making videos, which built the business even bigger. So we had to buy and build new buildings to support all of this growth, which allowed us to buy all of this gear that we use for testing, equipment, and evaluating products that we're going to be selling on our website. Now you guys have already seen this rifle in its stock configuration with the iron sights, you know, the stock, how it is. But let's go ahead and upgrade this gun to make it a little bit more optimized. For our first build, we will equip the 104 with an Arsenal optics side mount. We will then mount an Aimpoint Pro in a low height arms mount. We'll keep the standard forend, but add a weapon light with a Midwest Industries barrel clamp mount. This build will feature the Arsenal quad rail I bought for this rifle early on in order to attach optics a little lower. Let's use the TWS top cover with an ACOG RMR combo, with the light being a Surefire on a T.REX arms light bar to make a little more room for my firing hand. For improved ergo, this BCM grip will do nicely. We'll also add some paint. let's take this build out a little further. We'll be using a SIG Tango 6T, and we'll change out the stock for something that gives a little bit better cheek weld and more effective length of pull. And we'll also try running a suppressor. Let's try this Sure Shot rail. We'll use a Absolute Co-Witness EOTech with a weapon light on the left side, an L3 Ingall on top, and we're going to change out the compensator for a Surefire flash hider. So shooting this rifle for the last few weeks has been a lot of fun. And that's just what AKs are. They're extremely fun. They're also very vibey, and they're used all over the world. Now, a lot of you guys have seen Kalashnikovs in their stock configuration, wood forend, wood stock, maybe polymer, you know, the folding stock, or the way this AK came out of the box in the video 5 years ago. And a lot of people think that AKs can compete with AR-15s because they are easy to customize, or there are lots of parts out there to customize them and modernize the rifle to make it, you know, more on par with your average AR-15. So we have 4 different configurations that we ran in this video, demonstrating some different ways you can build out a AK74 or also an AKM, an AK47, whatever. And we're going to start over here. So the basic configuration that we had at the very beginning, which was also really the most reliable of all of them, had the standard polymer handguard that came with the original Arsenal rifle. I then had this side mount that's just going to go on the side clamp, which is a very consistent way of positioning a optic on the AK. Holds 0 quite well, and it can be detached and reattached effortlessly. I've got a Aimpoint Pro on there on a low mount, and this thing worked pretty well. Little Midwest light mount that goes on the barrel around the gas tube and everything, and this thing works really well just for mounting a light to your standard, you know, AK out there, and it's not super expensive. Just had the standard dust cover, really no problems there. The next configuration, which I've actually shot this rifle in for probably the most over the last few years, has been with this Arsenal quad rail. I just picked this up online a few years ago because I wanted to, you know, add some spice to the rifle. It works pretty well. The rail did not stay super tight to the gun while we were shooting it, and just in general over the last few years of using it. You could mount a laser off of this, but it's not going to retain 0 super consistently. But it does give you that quad rail for mounting accessories, you know, like a Surefire on a light bar to push that a little bit further, you know, or you could run your laser, your foregrips, or things like that. And for that configuration, we ran the ACOG, which is normally an optic you see on 5.56 guns, but I thought, hey, I want to run this on an AK. Gives me 4x magnification. It's very Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4-ish, and it actually worked pretty well, running the RMR on top for the close range stuff, and then taking the ACOG out a little bit further for headshots and things like that. Obviously, a better optic on something like a 5.56 gun, but you could run this on a 5.56 AK. And that would actually be pretty cool. I used the standard side folding stock that came with the Arsenal originally, and this stock works very well. As far as cheek weld though, for running a magnified optic, kind of sucks, and that's why we transitioned over to an AR style buffer tube to run a Magpul CTR with a little bit of a riser, so we have a little bit more contact on the gun. And then the next configuration, the Legion M-LOK rail. This just gives me a little bit more length for bipods and other accessories out there. Also being able to mount to surfaces and barricades. This thing's pretty cool, but again, they're kind of hard to get just because they come from Europe, and due to certain events, you know, you may not be able to get these anymore. But it's sort of competition-y, M-LOK, very nice. Could run my optic on top, run lasers on the sides. This thing does seem, and I've used this for a year or two, kind of off and on, this thing does seem to hold 0 a little bit more reliably than, say, the quad rail. So if I were running dedicated lasers, I would probably go with this rail right here. And then for that, I had the SIG Tango 6T. The contract scope. Thought it'd be interesting to actually try one of these out, and it was pretty cool. It actually wasn't horrible, but taking this gun out past a couple hundred meters was very, very difficult. I didn't have the Hornady match ammo. I was just shooting, you know, some foreign crap, and it wasn't super reliable going out the distance. And then the last configuration, the most cool, quite possibly. I've got the Sure Shot rail dust cover combo, and basically what you have is an M-LOK rail that is going to span the gas tube, gas block, barrel area of the rifle, and then a Picatinny dust cover that actually integrates into this entire forend. Nice and tight, looks nice, pretty lightweight actually when you start looking at this, and you've got the light, the laser, and the optic. We did have it come loose on us at the range though, and we did assemble it, you know, according to their specifications. So some Loctite is definitely necessary to get this really going. But I'm probably gonna leave this AK in this configuration for the next year or two, because it is really slick. It does allow me to run a modern laser up top, like any normal AR-15, and then I can run my low mount EOTech with this CTR stock with the riser, get that really good stock placement, really good cheek weld, and be able to shoot this gun pretty fast. The biggest downside to this rifle that we ran into is suppressor compatibility. We ran the Wolverine PBS can, and it was just wobbling all over the place. My point of impact was greatly affected. It was super inaccurate. It's also very heavy. So we ditched that, tried to run a Surefire,
and the barrel wasn't concentric, it would not line up with the suppressor, and so it would not be safe to fire. Again, suppressing AKs is very tricky. It's something that is not just a walk in the park like with AR-15s. Even with fairly budget and expensive AR-15s, they're just a lot easier to mount a suppressor to safely. Now, getting the gun to run is a different story, but mounting the suppressor safely to those guns is a lot easier than something like this AK. So should you buy an AK or an AR-15? My answer is yes. Buy both. Learn how to use a Kalashnikov. Learn the manual of arms of that weapon. Learn the intricacies and some of the differences that it has versus its AR-15 Western counterpart. At the end of the day, though, if you are looking at a primary rifle that you rely on and you live here in the United States of America, I recommend an AR-15. I've been recommending that for years, even after having picked up AKs and shot them a little bit. There's just a lot more going on with AKs as far as ammo availability, as far as modernizing the rifle. Yes, there are parts on the market to kind of get this AK up to spec to compete with any like budget AR that has an hemlock rail you can start mounting stuff to. But you're going to have to put more work into that rifle to get all the accessories to fit properly. The accessories are also a lot more picky than accessories for AR-15s as far as really making sure the tolerances are lining up just right. We had issues with pretty much well, this rail right here and with this one right here and with a stock adapter that we had just not fitting to this particular rifle very well. Technically it worked, it just didn't fit real well, and AR-15s just happen to be much more standardized and much more understandable when it comes to manufacturing parts for them. Now, if your goal is just to have a really vibey, cool gun, yes, the AK wins hands down every day. It's just more interesting, probably because we don't see as many of them here in the US as if you lived somewhere in Africa. I'm sure an AR-15, if you lived in the Middle East, would seem a lot cooler than an AK because that's what they got over there in droves. So I recommend an AR-15 if you are looking into one rifle, but at the end of the day, the training is what's going to make a difference. I would much rather take someone who has an AK, who shoots, you know, once a month or shoots way more often than that Gucci AR-15 owner who owns a pristine SR-15, you know, or an LMT rifle or something really fancy who only shoots twice a year. I would much rather take the AK fanboy who actually trains and gets out there, even if he just has iron sights, over that Gucci AR-15 owner. So training is what makes a difference. And I can say that for myself, that over the last 5 years, the training that I've been able to put in, the time I've been able to just get to the range and put rounds down range has made more of a difference for myself than just getting all of these parts and getting all of this kit over the last 5 years and upgrading what I have. The range time has made a significant difference for just the shooting of this rifle or of rifles in general, and I think it's pretty evident with some of the clips that we showed in this video. So get out there, make sure you're training often, and I'll see you guys next time.
I forgot everything! 265, same time. Probably as fast as I can shoot this one. All right, do we want more or?
Go 100%. Go 100%. I just want to see it.
All right.
Pull it off, it's off.
Okay, I shaved off 2/10.